Good morning. Would you tell us your name, where you live, and if you don't mind, your age?
John Raymer, right here in Fort Wayne, and I'm 30 years old.
Now, John, you have a problem with your leg that you said has affected your ability to stay employed. So why don't you first tell us about your leg?
Well, I was born with neurofibromatosis and developed secondary pseudoarthrosis. I fractured my leg when I was 2, and the pseudoarthrosis actually prevented the bones from healing, so they had to amputate about the time I was 5 years old.
And most recently you found out that they have to now...
Yes, recent years my leg has been deteriorating to a great extent, so here in the next couple months I'm going to actually have to have a surgery to become an above-knee amputee.
Now, how has this affected your ability to find employment?
It's made it fairly difficult. I can get jobs easy. It's maintaining the jobs that I find difficult. After so long, the work just becomes too overbearing on my leg, and I really can't hold the job for longer than 3-4 months at a time.
So let's start with that first conversation that you have with an employer that helps you secure the job. What's that conversation like?
Really, my leg never gets brought up in that aspect. A lot of the jobs I've been working recently have been just temp jobs. The only time my leg's ever been brought up before a job was about the time when I was a teenager. My dad was trying to help me by talking to a manager at a fast food restaurant, and the manager very snippetly looked at him and said she'd have to see what I could do.
And then you are at the job for a while, you say, but then eventually you find it difficult to stay in the job.
Yes, the day-to-day aspects of working the job just become too overbearing on my leg. I have had one job where the managers worked pretty diligently with me. If I couldn't stand for the day, they found me jobs where I could sit down or I wasn't moving as much as normal, etc. So it sounds like some of your employers have tried to accommodate you. Is there something more that they could do to accommodate you? Just with the condition of my leg, not really. As I said, I had one employer who did work pretty diligently. I did have to leave that job just due to relocation, however, but the jobs that really haven't worked with me have just because I've been through a temp service, working at a factory, things along those lines.
So if you had more people like the one employer who tried to accommodate you, you might be able to hold a job for a little longer.
Oh, most definitely. I probably would be employed right now if I had an employer like that worked with me.
Given your current level of skills and abilities, what kinds of employment situations are of interest to you?
Well, I presently hold a degree in software engineering. However, it's only an associate's degree, so I haven't been able to find any level of employment that was willing to hire me with just that degree. Due to recent deals, I've been unable to go back to school to try to finish the degree. But if I was able to find some sort of employer to accept that degree, then I feel that my disability wouldn't even come into an in factor because I would be sitting down 90% of the time.
So do you know where to go to pursue the additional education that you're talking about?
Yeah, I have the road that I can go down for more education. It's loan aspects and previous schools they're withholding my transcripts because I owe on student loans.
And because you can't find employment, it doesn't seem as though perhaps you'd be able to
ever pay that off or down, etc. Yeah.
I want to ask about your family that we hear in the background.
Okay.
Because I know that they're affected too. But anyway, so what would you say to employers to help them hire more people who are qualified who have disabilities?
Try to have an understanding of that person with a disability. It's hard to put yourself in their shoes, but just try to do your best to understand where they're coming from, their limitations. Usually most people with disabilities that I know aren't going to just say they can't do something to get out of doing it. They're saying they can't do it because they legitimately cannot do it. So just try to understand and keep that in mind.
And then what would you say to educators to help them prepare their students who have disabilities for the workforce?
That one's a little more difficult for me to answer. As I said, I didn't really focus on my disability in school, but I feel that it all comes back to the overarching of understanding. If educators could understand their students with disabilities a little more, they could better prepare and get them to understand how the workforce operates.
And then finally, I know that your financial position will affect your family, and I see that you have a wife and a small child. What would you say about your ability to get employment and maintain employment? How do you think that affects your family?
It affects them to a high degree. As of right now, my wife is looking for a job that, she may or may not be able to really fully do, as she has her own disabilities. She's epileptic, but I'm in the process of trying to apply for disability until I have my surgery, get healed, see if I can even go back to work, to try to bring in some income that way. But it affects my family in general. As I had stated, I have neurofibromatosis, and we just recently found out that my daughter does in fact have it because it is a 50% genetic disorder. So we're dealing with that whole new aspect as well. If you have disabilities, as I said, I've had my disability since I was 5 years old. And so if you are teenager, young child, even young adult, going through life with a disability, it can and does get better. I know it's rough going through school with that kind of situation, but it does get better. You can accomplish things. As I said, I made it all the way through school with a fairly high school diploma. I went to college, I graduated college. It does and can get better.
John, thank you so much for sharing your experiences with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Marvin Ross. I'm from Fort Wayne, Indiana, and I'm 82 years young.
Now, Marvin, you said that you want to talk a little bit about healthcare today.
Yes, that would be fine.
As it relates to your family, particularly your son. Tell us about your son.
Well, we have a 51-year-old son that is multiply disabled, and he has been on Medicaid and Medicare since age 19, and it's been quite a struggle with his multiple disabilities, but we've managed to get along. He has 3 diseases that are actually life-threatening, and so he takes a lot of care, a lot of attention, and he needs good medical support. And we're quite concerned right now with the culture and the atmosphere in Washington about what is going to happen with the coverage in the future, especially with the new House bill that passed. I understand it has to go to the Senate, but it would be very limiting in terms of care for our son, with major cuts being made to Medicaid, which would slash many of his benefits, and also the benefits of many other young people, poor individuals and disabled persons in Indiana, as well as across the country.
What age is your son now?
He's 51, and
So he's in that middle range of age where until he reaches somewhere in his 60s that he could really be affected by a change in the healthcare policies.
he could drastically be affected by the proposals that they're now talking about, and I'm just really concerned about the way some of our Washington politicians are supporting this major cut to the disabled and the needy people and defending these cuts with falsehoods, like the pre-existing condition. That would not be there for the young people and the disabled people in the future unless the state of Indiana or the other states would adopt their own policy, and then they could easily adopt a plan which would put all of the individuals with special illnesses or diseases in a separate category and make their premiums so high they couldn't afford the coverage.
So the Affordable Health Care Act went into effect several years ago. Did you find that that brought down the costs for your son so that you could offer good health coverage for him?
The Affordable Care Act has been very favorable for our son, and also we have a daughter who's self-employed, and she's had 2 surgeries under the Affordable Care Act, and that insurance plan has paid well. And then my wife and myself, we're in the Social Security category, so a family of 4, we like the benefits we now have.
What happened before the Affordable Care Act? Did you find it difficult at that time to help with health coverage for your son?
Well, he was eligible for both Medicare and Medicaid, and so the coverage was pretty good under that double plan.
So if we went back to that, perhaps that would be satisfactory, but some of the proposals moving out of the Affordable Care Act are very different from that.
Oh, that's exactly right. Moving back to where we were, we could exist, but there aren't any proposals that I know of yet put in writing that would increase the current benefits. The legislators are actually seriously considering taking benefits away from us that we've experienced for the past several years, and it's quite worrisome.
And how does that affect you? Do you help your son with his subsidies, or how is it impacting the entire family?
Well, my wife and I, we're the legal guardians for our son, and we have a daughter, a senior daughter that is assisting as a 3rd guardian, and we financially supplement his care. So that's how we're getting along currently.
Do you find that procedures are the most costly healthcare needs in your family, or is it medication? Is it both? How are you incurring the most costs?
Well, right now for my disabled son, it's the prescriptions. And he starts every day with 18 pills in the morning, plus an injection of a diabetic medication and a nasal spray medication and a foot cream for his athlete's foot. And we have a prescription plan that covers all of those medications right now. That won't be the case with the proposal that passed the House of Representatives just in the last couple of weeks.
So you're hoping for coverage that contains some sort of help for prescriptions. What are you most concerned about losing that you really need to retain?
Well, not only the prescriptions, but he currently is under a waiver plan here in the state of Indiana, whereby we have caregivers that come in twice a day into his small apartment to help him with the administration of medications, and they take him to the grocery store and do some things like that 80-year-old seniors don't have the energy to keep doing, and those services would be in danger.
And I see that you walked with some assistance. You have a cane. What about for your own self? Do you feel like the Medicare and Social Security is taking care of you so that you can take care of yourself and your wife?
The current Social Security and Medicare help me and my wife to get along. I've been orthopedically disabled since 1993, some 25 years, and we have made things work with the Social Security that we now have. But of course, we're greatly worried about cuts in Social Security, and cuts in prescription care. The plan passed by the House would allow states to increase the premiums for health services up to 5 times greater than we currently have to pay for our medication and our insurance coverage.
Can you think of anything that I should have asked that I didn't ask of you? Is there anything else that you would like to share with us?
Well, I just think that all of us, especially here in the 3rd District, I'm pretty close to how things are running in terms of the votes, and we will need seniors, disabled, needy people to get out and vote in 2018. We have a representative that has gladly voted and spoken happily about the new proposal from the House of Representatives, and has stated that it's just a step in that direction, but it's taking money away from needy people and making cuts for the wealthy, tax cuts that is, for the wealthy, available. I think we have to get out and convey that message to all of our citizens in the 3rd District and encourage them strongly, very strongly, to get out and vote.
Thank you so much.
Well, Jeanette, thank
Very
you.
timely, you betcha.
My name is Vickie Lee Johnson, and as you mentioned, I'm with AWS Foundation, and my title is Manager of Marketing and Public Affairs, but really it is project manager and just a wide variety of tasks. I have some initiatives that I help to champion in the community, as well as putting on the expo and quite a few other things. It's a lot of fun, exciting opportunities to meet people.
Now, we call this the Disabilities Expo with an emphasis on abilities, and I assume that that's come from a long time with the expo and understanding what we need to emphasize.
Yeah, it really is about inclusion. The mission of the foundation is to provide individuals an opportunity to be included in all areas of the community, to reach their full potential, and to live as independently as possible. So it really is about inclusion of everyone at every level of every ability to really be a melding pot for the community.
And how does the expo help advance that?
Oh, the expo is so great. It's the one place where everyone can come, and we have like 120 vendors, and they have so much information of every type: products, services, entertainment, things where individuals can come in and connect with others. They can learn from each other. They can find out about all the things that are available that maybe they didn't know before they came to the expo. So really, you know, kind of go back to your question, it's that one place where everyone helps everyone. And it's so neat to see, even with the vendors, someone will have a booth and there'll be one nonprofit, some individuals will come up and they'll say, hey, I have a need, or I have a family member, or I understand that there's this piece of equipment or technology that can help my loved one. And even if they themselves don't have it or don't know a lot about it, they generally know who else at the expo might, and they'll grab that person and they'll say, come down here, this is the booth you need to go to, or this is the person I need to introduce you to. So there's just so much going on in, as far as connectivity, that so many people leave saying, I learned things that I never knew that are going to improve my life, or the life of someone that I want to help that's living with a disability.
What year is this for the expo?
This is the 8th annual, and I've actually been involved in the last 3 years.
And I was here, I think, about 4 or 5 years ago, and the expo's grown substantially since, you know, even that time. What additions have been made, well, for this year over even last year?
Oh my gosh. Well, just in size alone, the number of attendees continues to grow, as well as the number of exhibitors. This year, and we have 30 exhibitors new to the expo that weren't here last year. Some of them may have been previous years and had taken a hiatus, but there's 30 that were previously not here last year, And that is like 16 more in total, because we've had some that couldn't repeat, but the net is another 15 or so, 16. So just the size alone by attendee and the booths. Then as far as the activities, we've continued to add activities based on survey and information. We have some common community areas with fun activities, like we have a virtual reality booth this year that's new, where individuals can come and see what it's like to be a front man in a rock band, or what it's like to be in space. Travel places, there's one piece, it's like how to be, or what it's like to be on a roller coaster. And for some individuals with a disability, that's something that physically they've not been able to experience in their life. So to have that feeling and that understanding is just great. We have 3 new entertainment groups that are on stage, and that's another opportunity for inclusion where people can come and they can show their talents. We have, last year we had probably 500 pieces of art, and this year we have 800, a little more than 800 pieces of art in the Activity and Art Center. So, gosh, I guess the better question would be, what hasn't expanded more than what's new? It's just, it seems like everything has just continued to grow, and we're really excited about that.
How do you know how to grow it? Do you survey your attendees? Do you have a committee? How is it that you know where to expand?
We do survey the committee members to see how they think it went, and our volunteers. We survey the attendees and we talk to them as we go. And we also survey the exhibitors. What are some of the things you'd like to do? And some of the challenges you've had, or some of the things that have been really successful for you. We have, we take all those survey information, and then we kind of have a post-mortem meeting with all the committee members to say, what did we like? What are all the things we hear? Just kind of go through that trending piece. And then it's amazing, every year I get a phone call and I get emails that says, hey, someone attended and they learned something or found out something and I heard about it. Can you tell me about it? I'd like to become involved in some way. And that happened this last year, and that's what brought Changing the Face of Beauty this year as an activity, which is a big nonprofit that champions taking photos of individuals with disabilities and including them in national campaigns for media and advertising. And so we have them there taking professional photographs of different individuals, and we're hoping that we'll be able to help contribute to that pool of photos that individuals can use. And in publicizing that, we've got a lot of really well-known local photographers that have volunteered their time and talent, and they're taking those photos. So, I mean, just another cool way to expand, another cool thing to really put out there and let people see how amazing individuals with disabilities are, and at the same time that they're no different than we are, that we're all together and that we all have our dreams and do things and have the same desires, and so they get to see that they're involved in all the things that we are as other neurotypical individuals, that you know, we're all one and the same. We're all more alike as people than we are dissimilar.
My name is Lauren Harmison. I am the CEO of Camp Possibility.
And you are located where?
We are located in Fort Wayne, Indiana, but that is our home base, but we rent an adapted camp in Martinsville, just south of Indianapolis, for our actual camp week.
Camp Possibility, what is that?
Camp Possibility is a one-week adapted summer camp. We serve young adults who are 18 to 35 with physical disabilities who have a typical high school diploma. So we're super unique. We just serve that niche group. There's not another one like us that we can find that does a full camp week. We found a couple others that do like a retreat for that age group, but not something that's a full camp week. So our campers come from all over the U.S. This year we have at least people coming from at least 13 states.
Do you do 1 week, or just for everyone, or do you do 1 week for different groups?
We have 1 week just for everyone because we just serve that niche group. Everyone comes together. Our camp right now runs the first week of August, and that's how it has been for the last 3 years. As far as we know, that's kind of the date that it will be for a long time.
What do people do?
We do everything from zip lining, horseback riding. We have special adapted kayaks called bellyaks that you do on your belly, so that's a really fun activity. We do adapted basketball, we have This year we're adding all kinds of different activities. We have a photographer coming who did photos for the Paralympics, so he's going to teach our campers how to do adapted photos. So we just have a whole wide variety of activities we do at our camp.
So it sounds like a week at camp.
Yes, it's basically a typical week at camp, but it's designed for typical adults. So we won't have some of the activities that you might see in your kids program. Everything is going to be geared towards helping you be more independent and just having activities that you can do independently.
Is there a cost?
The cost is $450. It's $50 to register and then $400 for your week of camp after you're accepted.
And do you have any kind of financial aid or?
We do have scholarships that you can apply for. This year we actually received money for scholarships from the Christopher and Dana Reeve Foundation, and the AWS Foundation also gave us funds for scholarships. So we're able to use that money towards scholarships. The only thing is that our camp is run entirely by volunteers, so it costs us approximately $1,800 per camper. So we only charge really a small portion of that. So we try to use the scholarship funding that we do get to cover that balance and make it so campers only have to pay $400.
How long have you been doing this?
This year, 2017, will be our third year of camp. We became a nonprofit in 2014, started our first camp week in 2015, and then so this will be our third year.
And what has changed during that time?
I feel like camp has changed a lot. Our volunteers come from a wider base. Our volunteers even come from different states now because they see what we do and want to be a part of our opportunities. Our campers are coming from a lot more states. We're still based in Indiana, and we're an Indiana-based camp, but some of the campers can't find anything else, so they tell everyone that they go to Indiana for camp now, which is kind of a surprise for some people, but they love it. It's such a great time and a good time to build social interaction and great friends who support them. So it's really a lot more about being an adult and having that support system that you need as you transition to living independently with your disability too.
How did you think to start it?
When I was in nursing school, which was long ago in 2007, I had a friend who had a spinal cord injury. He was in Fort Wayne, and I really didn't know him other than through mutual friends, but I called him when he was at rehab and asked him if I could help his family, and I ended up doing a lot of things to help him transition after he got home with his spinal cord injury. So I ended up working at another adapted camp and was thinking I should take him with me, but I realized when I was there that he would be really bored. He was a typical adult. He was 19. He needed a lot more activities that would engage his mind more and not things that were designed for children but could be adapted for adults with disabilities. So I decided to start looking into starting my own camp, and through through kind of a long process, I ended up realizing that there wasn't anything like that existed, and that if I wanted something like that, I needed to create it myself. So I worked with a local attorney who donated time to help us set up the nonprofit. And gradually over time, it has continued to grow. We worked with, our first auction was in 2014. We did that the fall before camp, and we had Tyler Dale from American Restoration come and help us. So that was a great thing, and he's partnered with us for every auction and every week of camp that we've done since then. So that has just helped us get more presence. The AWS Foundation has helped us, and Lynn Gilmore, who is their executive director. Lynn Gilmore is really my mentor, and she has helped me connect me with different community resources. I feel like in Fort Wayne we have a lot better resources than even some of the bigger cities do, just as far as people working together and people that will collaborate with each other. So I got involved in NIDAC in Fort Wayne and was able to connect with a lot more businesses. So I feel like our camp has grown rapidly, and we have a national following already, even though we're still pretty young.
Because it takes funding
It definitely does.
to be able to offer services and opportunities to people who have some challenges. 1
week of camp costs us approximately $60,000. So by the time we get all of our insurance, rent the location, plus the camp that we rent, it's basically bare as far as the supplies that we need. And because a lot of our campers are considered medically fragile, we have to have a lot of supplies in case there are any emergencies, any over-the-counter medications and all that. We actually have to bring all of that. So we have a whole storage unit here that we have to empty and take down with us. So we have adapted shower chairs, and the bellyacs are actually ours. So just a lot of different things that we have to actually move from here. A lot of times people don't realize the logistics of something like that too, but it's also very expensive.
So you come to the expo to do what for Camp Possibility?
We come to meet potential campers who might want to be involved with us, also to meet people who might want to volunteer with our organization. And it's just a great way to have community presence to interact with some of the other organizations and see organizations that we might be able to help, and then in exchange too that they might be able to send some of their clients to us. One thing that I have found a lot is that networking is definitely key in growing our organization. Even though we're small, we have been able to network very well, and so we have partnerships with other camps. If some people don't qualify for our camp, we're able to send them to Camp Red Cedar or Camp Riley or whichever camp fits the best for them. But having those connections really helps us a lot. So one thing that I've really tried to do is spend as much time as I can networking with other organizations, because there is something out there for people that need it. And so just trying to get to know what resources are available and how we can help others.
So when you put together Camp Possibility, did you know already about the expo, or did you have to learn about the expo separately from Camp Possibility?
I learned about the expo from Lynn Gilmore at the AWS Foundation. She connected me with it, and also I know most of the NIDAC organizations were setting up tables with the expo, so that's more how I learned about it. Camp Possibility for us is a family event. My husband takes the week off work and helps me run the camp, and our daughter, who's 3, comes with us too. It has been really fun with her, because to see how she looks at people with disabilities, she doesn't think that they're any different than us, which they aren't, but that's how I want her to be raised. So she was playing with her toy wheelchair a couple weeks ago, and a friend asked her if her doll was sick, and she said, "No, my doll's not sick. They just use a wheelchair like my friend Hunter does at camp." So she thinks about things totally differently, and that's how I want a lot more children to see things the way that she does. And I think Camp Possibility is one way that people see that. They see that our adults are typical adults. They want to live their lives, but they just need some adaptations made. And the volunteers that come to help with us, they see that too. They come to camp thinking, "Oh, I'm really going to help somebody this week." But some of them have actually been helped more by their camper than vice versa. They may help them get out of bed in the morning, but their camper physically gave them some emotional support that they needed with what they were going through. So a lot of friendships are formed, and it's a really fun week to just see barriers broken and people changed.
And your campers, what sort of abilities and disabilities do they have?
Our campers' disabilities vary from having more of a paraplegic level, where more just their legs are affected, causing them to use wheelchairs, to being more quadriplegic, where all their extremities are affected. So we have had some of our campers have cerebral palsy, so some of them that only affects them, their bodies partially, some it affects them. They're more like quadriplegics. They really need help with eating and dressing and moving their chairs around, and then some are more independent. Just one thing I feel like you learn when you get to know these campers is that everyone's unique. All their disabilities are unique. You can't just classify them in one, like with one description. So, but we have had everyone from people that are more the paraplegic level to people who are full quadriplegics, who really only have use of their head, like can move their head back and forth. So we really are able to have a wide variety of adults, but a lot of them too get put in situations where they don't get a lot of interaction the way that typical adults would. So one of our things that we want to have at camp is for them just to be able to have all of that time to engage with other people.
What sort of research did you do before you decided that these camps don't exist, I'll just launch my own? That seems like a huge undertaking, and I think it'd be great advice to help people know when it is that they can volunteer and when it is that they need to go a little further and maybe even launch their own nonprofit.
One of the things that I did is contact a lot of different disability agencies throughout the U.S. and ones that I knew that had camps that were national camps. So I contacted Johnny and Friends. They do a big family retreat type camp. And I worked with Camp Barnabas in Missouri. They're nationally known, and their campers come from all over the U.S. So I talked to them. I looked with a couple different camps that may be doing an extension, but then there's also different things that go into play with that too. So rather than doing an extension, we decided just to start our own camp. But I worked with Johnny and Friends, Camp Barnabas, and then also I had volunteered at Camp Red Cedar when I was in high school. So I talked to them, and I mostly just started looking up other camps and other programs that had similar things to what I wanted, and tried to find out what was available, and then to see whether what I had was already in existence so that I could just help, or if there really wasn't anything and I needed to start from scratch. So we really couldn't find anything. There are sports-related camps, and then there are typical adult camps where pretty much anyone who's graduated from adapted camp can go to camp, and it's pretty much 18 and older and a very wide range of disabilities. So someone who has cognitive level of a 2-year-old might be in the same camp as someone who has gone to college. So it's just a very different camp, and those that have high cognitive function typically just stop going to camp, but they really miss that social interaction. So that was one of the things that I really wanted to focus on, was more the interaction side of it and having the outdoor adventures too, but having it be a fully inclusive camp instead of it just being targeted towards one specific activity too.
All right, so this is Camp Possibility, and the ability is with an A, Possibility. And where do we find you online?
It is www.camppossibility.org.
Thank you. So ladies, tell me your names and where you're from.
My name's Maria Crash, and I'm from Fort Wayne, Indiana.
My name is Laura Rao, and I'm also from Fort Wayne, Indiana.
And the name of your company.
Live on Goods
And you both, that's okay, the name of your company.
is Live on Goods, and our first product that we have available in the market is called the Bone Top.
And do the two of you run Live on Goods together?
There are actually 5 of us that started the company together, and we all work together.
And there, so you have 5 CEOs.
Yes, we do.
And you, what does Live on Goods do? You said that you have a product.
Our product, the first product we have is a adult clothing protector, and Bone Top really stands for good times with good friends at the table. And the product can be used for anybody with physical limitations, or even those of us who spill coffee commuting to work. We have an excellent product that's stain resistant and water resistant, so we've chosen our fabrics wisely. They're very colorful and bright, and we've tried to make a product that lets a person dine with dignity and not feel like they're wearing a bib, which is, we call that a 3-letter dirty word, basically.
And it's a product that has been designed with fasteners to help people be able to put it on independently, take it on and off independently, and keep their clothes clean. So we have a website, liveongoods.com, and you can see all the fashionable patterns and fabrics that we have there. We have gender-specific patterns for men and for women, and we also have, we're branching into some adolescent fabrics that kids might like a little bit more.
Did you find that there was a need for both your company and this product?
Definitely. I mean, we obviously are living in a generation, we have an aging population. Glad and happy that people are living longer and they want to maintain their independence. So it's actually, I mean, we want to develop other products, but this product we just got started about a year ago. We're local, and we want to, have local manufacturing and so forth. So we're really trying to get this product off the ground, and then we certainly would love to add to our product line special items that would help people with physical limitations.
And on a personal level, we have parents and grandparents and relatives that we have needed this product and have gone looking for it, and we're only able to find very unattractive bib-like shower curtains. I mean, the things that we found on the market were pretty horrible, and we didn't want to put them on a loved one. So now we have something that people can be proud to wear when they're dining out socially or with family and not be embarrassed.
What other items are you thinking of creating?
Well, we thought about colorful pads. A lot of times there's kind of a stigma if you have issues with incontinence, you may put down something that basically looks like a dog pad that you might put under yourself in a nice lazy boy or something like that. So we have the idea of some comfortable looking products that would also be waterproof using the fabrics that we've chosen to use for the clothing protectors. So we're hoping that's one of the items. I mean, we've come up with all kinds of ideas, but that's just something that we've been working on.
So when you find people who are excited about this initial product, what type of person is that? Just describe a typical client.
The people that get most excited, I think, are family members who have done what I've said. They've gone out and looked for things and they haven't been able to find it. We get a lot of interesting people who say they have a relative that passed away, and we've literally had people crying when they come to see our product, and they say, I so wish I would have been able to have that when my loved one was alive, because now I have a memory of this person and the ugly bib-like thing, and it could have been much better for them. So that's an interesting reaction that we often get.
Is there anything about your new company or any of your products that I've forgotten to ask that you wanted to add?
I think it's kind of interesting that we're all 5 women over 50 years old, and we seem to get a lot of attention from that. We've gotten a lot of help from the Innovation Center, and as far as future products, they really did encourage us to stick with one thing and really get that fine-tuned and off the ground, and then to move on to our other products.
What's the story behind your name?
Oh, live on goods. I mean, we had our little tagline, and our mission is live on, and enjoy your life. So just because you're aging or just because you have physical limitations doesn't mean you can't enjoy your life zestfully and have, fun things to wear and not feel like that you do have limitations. And you can put this on yourself and you can feel proud to wear it, and it doesn't scream, some of the ugly things that we've seen on the market. So it's just kind of a fun idea behind it.
So the 5 of you work together. What are your different backgrounds?
We have a registered nurse, a dietitian, an occupational therapist, and 2 with business backgrounds. So we've had a lot of experience both professionally and personally with working with people that could use our product.
And so you were telling us about the idea that some of the products that you've been using in the past were not quite as attractive as they could be, and maybe didn't feel like something you'd want to put into your home, maybe a little institutionalized. And that was part of your inspiration?
Yeah, in fact, there's one gal that she developed a condition when she was in college and had to move home. And she's in her late 20s now and starting to be invited to family weddings and so forth, and friends' weddings, and to wear what was on the market and require some assistance with eating and so forth was embarrassing for her. So she's excited that she's got a couple of them, one that she uses at home and one that she wears out that's a little more elegant looking, and you just see the smile on her face. She's been great. She's actually on our website, and is just a dear, and it's definitely brightened her life to have something like this to wear.
So please state your name and where you're from, and if you could, please, your age.
Okay. My name is Renaud, Harmison, also known as Haitian Motivation number 10, and the best English past, present, and future. I'm from Haiti, and I came to America many years ago, and so I live in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and I'm 25 years old.
And how long have you been in Fort Wayne?
I will probably say roughly, 10 years. I stopped counting after 10 years, so it's been a while since I came from one country to another country. So I came when I was 6 or 7 years old.
So, Renaud, you wanted to speak a little bit about an employment experience that didn't turn out so well, and in fact, you had to pursue some legal action against your employer.
As I was working, I felt discriminated based on my disability, failure to provide reasonable accommodation, harassment because of my disability, and also retaliation for exercising my rights. One of the accommodations I asked for a chair because of my arms. So I have to do a lot of movement, and so if the chair is not properly fitted for me, I get back pains. And I won't be able to do my work essentially, just like everybody else. So when you don't give that chair for me, I could not do my job. And I also was asking for more accommodations, but I couldn't because I felt threatened as an employee against my supervisor.
When they hired you, did they have an idea that you might need a chair or a chair suited to you?
Yes, I specifically state that, in the office, and when we introduced ourselves and what, the requirement of their employment may be. So I, communicated to them because one of the information that you need to tell your employer, if you feel like you need accommodation, it is in your best interest to tell them. they can't read minds. So once you tell them, they have a legal obligation to start the process to accommodate your needs so you can be successful in the workplace.
And they knew that in advance, and so part of your concern was that even though you had been employed by them, that they were not accommodating you properly with what you needed, and you felt like they even retaliated once you described to them that your needs were still not being met.
Exactly, and I was facing retaliation, and as a result of that, I moved from one position to another. So I became a soccer coach because, you know, I'm a Haitian, you know, so soccer is very important to Haitians because we play every single day. So in Haiti, they block different streets and no cars can go in, you know, so they play off and on throughout the whole day. And so I have some experience as a player and also as a coach, so that's why I decided to coach and to move away from that situation. But even though I moved away from that situation, the person kept following me around, kept retaliating against me. And so therefore, I had to submit my resignation. So therefore, before I did that, and then I did that again because I was fired. So then that's when I realized that I gotta pursue litigation. And so I took it upon myself to go after them because discrimination is wrong. Because we live in a country that all things are possible when you believe. All things are possible if you do the work. And when you don't provide a reasonable accommodation, or when you don't give a chance, an equal chance for someone that's disabled to be successful, and then how can they become successful just like anybody else? And then a certain amount of months pass by, and then they reach out to me, and then essentially, you know, the lawsuit is basically ended because it was dismissed based on judicial settlement conference. So basically, judicial settlement is where two parties come together and then try to have a good sense of try to resolve the issue before litigation. For me, I wanted to take them to litigation because it's like, it's something about the judge's order, tells them that they have done something wrong. And they need to stop doing what they're doing, you know, because a lot of people discriminate against people. They get away with it because no one's gonna tell them no, you know, so no one's gonna tell them this is wrong, and I'm gonna step up against you to tell you this is wrong, legally speaking, and for you to stop doing that for other people. And most people will not go after them because it's a losing battle.
So in this case, though, it ended in a settlement for you, is that?
Yes, ma'am.
And so what did you learn? It sounds like it was a lot of work. Would you suggest to others to do it?
Yes, if you believe that there is something wrong in this process, and you are actually being discriminated because of your disability, sexual orientation, because of your religion, whatever it may be, sexual harassment, whatever it may be, you should take on whoever you need to take on, because this is something that is wrong. And until someone realizes that this is wrong and they cannot get away with it, then they will stop.
Renaud, thank you so much for telling us about your experience.
Thank you for having me.
So please tell us your name and where you're from and your age, if you don't mind.
Okay, I'm Marsha Jean Carter. I'm residing in north central Ohio, and I am old enough to remember when the profession started.
And Marsha, what is that profession?
We are recreational therapists. The credential is a Certified Therapeutic Recreation Specialist, and it's an international credential that individuals who provide services in the form of rehabilitation or treatment or leisure education, for example, to individuals that have needs that on the spectrum from physical, social, emotional, cognitive, all ages. So the name does vary, but worldwide the intent is to work with individuals with all kinds of illnesses and disabilities and improve their quality of life. In the late 70s in the United States, we were dealing with some political decisions that mandated that all the state institutions in the United States be reduced by half the number of residents. So for the first time in the history of our country, we had individuals with disabilities that were coming to the communities. And services that were in institutions usually were called activity therapy. So when folks came to the communities, they wanted that same type of service. One of the things that's extremely important is the ability to write treatment plans. And secondly, then to document the progress that is made. The reimbursement follows treatment plans, regardless of whether you're physical therapy or occupational or speech. So we have to have students and professionals that can document measurable outcomes and improvement in individuals' functioning and well-being. So that is extremely important, to be able to provide those treatment plans and then to document and measure that progress that the individual has made. A couple other things that folks have to do is select the proper intervention to improve that individual. So by writing very measurable goals and identifying through assessment what people prefer, then we have to select whether it is literally canine therapy or animal-assisted therapy. It could be physical activity. It could be something like values clarification, because I've gone to the military. I'm a very outdoor-oriented person, but I'm coming home and I'm now an amputee. So I still like the outdoors. So what can you do to help me choose an experience that will substitute for some of the things that I can no longer do? So it's very, very important to be able to assess an individual, identify their preferences, and find appropriate activities that have the same outcomes for individuals if they have a changed lifestyle. So we have what we call activity analysis, which is the fundamental way that we as therapists look at any activity that you or I would do in leisure, and we identify the outcomes for that activity. So therapists have to be very, very good at having a broad repertoire of whether it's a card game or a table and board game or a physical intervention. They have to know what those outcomes are and prescribe those activities, and then say, this goal with this intervention results in this change or improvement in the human being.
It sounds rather specialized, and I guess I would say that I'm surprised that if it's international, if it's throughout the world, that there are only 30,000 people. Like a recreational therapist may treat as many as how many individuals?
The caseloads vary from agency to agency, but it's not uncommon for an individual to have 8 to 10 individuals a day. The United States way of defining treatment is in 15-minute intervals, and they call them productivity units, and that's what they pay for. So hospitals, rehabilitation centers mandate how many treatment units a day an individual has to provide, and plus do the assessment and the documentation and the evaluation. So it's not uncommon for a person to carry a caseload of 8 or 10 individuals a day. So in the community, where they still have every individual that has a disability that lives in the community who's receiving any money from the government has to have an ISP or an ITP or an IPP, which is an individual treatment plan. So those individuals have goals and objectives that have to be accomplished as well. So sometimes they do small group interventions, and they handle a larger number of individuals on a daily basis. And those in a hospital or medical facility, where the majority of our folks work in mental health in the United States and in Canada, there's a little bit of difference. The majority of the folks there are working in the community with inclusion, and then secondarily in the hospitals. But regardless of whether it's the United States or Canada, the government expects progress and outcomes to be measured. And so the individuals have different caseloads, but the consequence is the same. They have to provide the documentation that they are improving the quality of life. One of the challenges all over the world that we're experiencing in healthcare is that some types of disabilities don't improve. my own mother was early onset Alzheimer's and started changing her behaviors before she turned 50. So she was fortunate to live 24 years in that Alzheimer's body. So as she progressed, the options financially became less and less. And that's true with many, many disabilities, is that unless we can document change or improvement or maintenance of functioning, we're going to lose our financial support from the entities that are paying for it, the insurance companies. So it does vary when folks go from a hospital to the community, because in the hospital they may have had more one-on-one small group 15-minute treatment sessions, and in the community that same person may be in a stroke support group or a TBI, traumatic brain injury group, where there are 2 or 3 individuals that are working on functional skills. And their session may be 45 minutes or an hour, but yet financially the picture is still the same, and you still have to show change and improvement.
Yeah, you have to produce, in order to receive the funding, you have to produce a certain outcome on paper.
Right. So in the 60s and 70s, a person who had a stroke or a head injury, for example, was in the hospital 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks. Now they're lucky to be there 5 to 7 days. So the intensity of treatment in the community is greatly changed. The impetus right now is with veterans and allowing veterans to stay in the military. So there's a stronger impetus on very intense early intervention than there was in the past, because of these decreased hospital stays and the intent to keep people on their feet and productive. So we're finding also more intense treatment in the hospital setting. So therapists now are bedside, and they are treating very, very, very involved individuals. And also in the community, we have people that are much more ill than they were in the past. It's very, very difficult, for instance, with mental health and with the drug addictions, it's a very intense, short rehab, and then they're back in the community. So we're finding that the complexity of illnesses and disabilities all over the world is much, much more intense than it was in the 60s and 70s. So students and professionals that are now working in the community have to have a much stronger awareness of disabilities and medications, and function as a part of a team, a rehabilitation team. Much more so than they did in the past. So there's a greater demand for strong communication skills, for very, very strong knowledge of the health and human service systems, because our roles have become more complex. We don't just work with the individual, we're now working with the families, we're working with the communities. So for instance, with children with autism, our therapists are now involved in support groups, and the same thing with Alzheimer's. Our therapists are now involved with the support groups and the families as well as the individual. So the scope of our services has increased immensely. Technology has had the greatest impact on healthcare, as bar none. And what we're finding is individuals that are ill or disabled are self-treating, as well as the rest of us are self-treating. So we as therapists are having to learn to use technology as a treatment modality as well as a communication modality. So telehealth, we're becoming part of that. So call up a doctor, call up a recreation therapist. Those kinds of things are beginning to happen in many communities all over the United States, and at a much, much faster rate. So we find that all of us have to continue our education, because 6 months or a year out, there's a new medication, or there's a new therapist or technique that we have to utilize to work with people with disabilities.
Marsha, you've been wonderful. Thank you so much for explaining your experiences and bringing just a breadth of history and experience to the table and sharing that with us.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, so please tell us your name and the city you're from and your age, if you don't mind.
I'm Holly Tonak. I am from Fort Wayne, and I am 32.
And you're and you and you're with Gigi's Playhouse?
I am the executive director for Gigi's Playhouse Fort Wayne.
Okay, so tell us what goes on at Gigi's Playhouse.
We provide free educational and therapeutic-based programming from prenatal diagnosis all the way through adulthood and everything in between.
And so one of your clients would be, like, give us an example of a typical client, if that's...
There's no such thing as
Yeah, okay.
We've had 2 prenatal diagnoses come through already, and then our oldest right now is 52 years old, and we specialize with individuals with Down syndrome. However, we are fully inclusive, so it doesn't matter what ability you may or may not have, you are welcome to enjoy the free programs that we provide.
So what are some of your programs?
We have one-on-one literacy and math tutoring, and that's starting at the age of 3, and there is no age cap. We have a 51-year-old that's actually involved in our literacy tutoring and just wrote his very first sentence a few weeks ago. And so life-changing programs. We also have cooking club. We have LMNOP, which is a language enrichment program for our little ones so they can start learning how to formulate words and sounds, and also just getting that family support as well. We also have Gigi University, which is an adult program. So after they graduate high school, a lot of our adults, they're like, what do we do now? So they come to the Playhouse and they learn career skills, health and wellness. So they're learning what's healthy for them to eat and nutrition. They're working out 30 minutes every time they're there. They work on money skills, communication, and just how to be an amazing person.
What was the reasoning behind your getting involved with Gigi's Playhouse?
So for me, kind of a long story, I'll make it as short as possible. I am a former special education teacher, and I was with my school system for 5 years, and out of those 5, 4 of them were spent going on to the national website looking for careers in Gigi's Playhouse. It originated in the Chicagoland area, and my best friend at the time lived in Chicago and was walking by a Gigi's, saw it, and she's like, this is you. And I immediately went to their website and I was like, yes, that is me. I need to get involved. And either with the school schedule, it was just awkward timing with the career, or it wasn't a good fit for me. And then the last day of school 2 years ago, I was wearing a Keep Calm and Let the Special Ed Teacher Handle It shirt. And I got a phone call from my mom, and my grandmother had suffered a stroke. And she told me to get up to the hospital right away. So I dart up here to Fort Wayne, and a nurse in my grandma's office, or in my grandma's room, saw my shirt, and she's like, my daughter's teacher would love that shirt, and starts telling me about her daughter with Down syndrome. And I'm like, oh, have you heard Gigi's Playhouse is coming to Fort Wayne? And I told her everything I knew because I was stalking this organization for 4 years. And she's like, honey, I'm on the board. And from that connection on, I interviewed for the position, and here I am, a year and a half later, still doing it and loving it.
So what was it about Gigi's Playhouse in particular that why would your friends say it's you, and why would you know it's you?
I've always had a love of individuals with Down syndrome. Unlike many other disabilities, individuals with Down syndrome wear their diagnosis on their face. There's no hiding that they have Down syndrome. And so for me, they are prime for the picking for being bullied because people see the diagnosis. And also people have preconceived notions of what individuals with disabilities can and cannot do. And for me, I saw my friends going through some heartbreak, of my friends that had Down syndrome, and I was ready to fight it and say, world, this is what Down syndrome looks like, and how amazing my friends are and all the ability they have. We have scheduled programming, and then we also allow drop-ins. So if you're ever in the Fort Wayne area and you're like, oh, we have some time to kill, what can we do that's productive and my kids aren't gonna drive me crazy doing? Pop into the Playhouse and you can just play, use our facilities, and then be on your merry way.
Do you have a lot of people on staff?
I am the only paid staff member, and we have about 200 volunteers that donate their time to us. And it's our volunteers who are helping this Playhouse be amazing. Out of our volunteers, we have therapists on that are volunteers. We have teachers, we have retired teachers, we have people in the medical profession. And then we have a lot of colleges in the area. About 7 colleges right now use us as part of their service learning projects. And some of those that are in college are like, oh, I want to learn more about the field I'm going into, so they come to us. And so it's because of our volunteers that we are as big and as powerful as we are.
So do you charge for your services?
All of our programs are free of charge. There is no fee to enjoy the services that you need.
So that's got to be kind of hard to sustain. How do you finance that?
So right now I'm writing a lot of grants, and then we do fundraisers and events and just people connecting to our mission and wanting these programs to stay. We also have a store called Club 21, and it's located in the Playhouse, and it's staffed by individuals who have graduated GG University, and they're making products. And so we have sublimation, so we can put a logo on anything for those with corporate sales. We can make a design and put it on anything, or the public can come in and make a one-of-a-kind mug or picture frame. You can find us online at www.ggsplayhouse.org/Fort Wayne. You can find us on Facebook, you can find us on Instagram and Twitter.
And then where's your...
And then we are in Washington Square Shopping Center, so right across the road from Bishop Dwenger, 6081 North Clinton.
Holly, thank you so much for being with us and explaining all about Gigi's Playhouse.
You are very welcome. Thanks for having me.
Give us your name and the city where you're from and your age, if you don't mind.
Age I mind.
Okay, then don't. Do not.
Pamela Clarkson with Clarkson Mobility.
And is that here in Fort Wayne?
That is here locally in Fort Wayne, family-owned business. We have formulated this business to be a transportation service, correct, to the mobility industry. What we are doing is customizing our business to bridge the gap and strengthen the links between the transportation that is already existing. We have taken care of our uncle for 6 years. Uncle Yvonne, who was a Vietnam veteran, he passed away in October. We got our vehicle accommodated for him in September. He was not able to enjoy the transportation very long, but he was very proud. First words were, wow, when he sat in it. There are many occasions where we could not take him from one occasion to another, or he would have to wait hours before being picked up, or wait hours to be picked up to go home. And he suffered a lot of ailments. So the struggles of waiting was very hard for him. And we understand those struggles. On top of that, the personal occasions, the anniversaries, the funerals, the weddings, the get-togethers, the graduation parties, the proms, he just couldn't be a part of those. So we're trying to bridge that service to the community with the love and compassion that we shared with him, and extend that service to the community, make it more enjoyable and a part of their lives. And we're very proud and excited to bring this to Fort Wayne, and we're actually serving the state of Indiana. And we are simply starting with the one vehicle, and we are going to grow. We're not looking for quantity, we're looking for the quality. So the personal customized transport will just be you and your loved one. We extend a lot of different services and want to just be a great strength to the community. Well, we are on Facebook. We do have a Gmail. Our phone number is 260-745-6082, and you can call, make arrangements. We work all week around the clock, depending on the occasion. We want to accommodate and schedule. You don't have to have a 24-hour notice necessarily, because things do change and things do come up. There are times you might have an occasion that you were planning on and you don't feel well. Then we just need to know as soon as possible so we can make the accommodations open for other families.
So explain the vehicle then to us. Does it have a ramp? Does it do the lift? And what does it look like?
Well, Uncle really liked his rides. We have a brand new Sienna Limited. It's a Toyota 2016. It has an electric ramp, and we have it customized with a 15-inch screen for entertainment. So if it is a distance of a trip and you want to watch a movie as you drive down to Indianapolis, what have you, for a family reunion, you can put that in and watch it on the way down. And it's got sound surround. We've got a ton of safety features on the vehicle. It is customized with chocolate Italian leather, and it just gives you the wow. He liked his rides and he liked his entertainment. So we're doing this in honor of his memory, and we are just very proud to extend this to the community.
Clarkson Mobility. We find you on Facebook. We find you where else?
We have a Gmail account, and we will be getting a website. Currently, the phone number is 260-745-6082.
Pamela, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Clarkson Mobility.
I'm going to leave that in.
Cut.